Good afternoon. It is sometime in June. I forget the date. The 15th of June. Um, it is 14:30 UTC, or just after, when we meet up on Wednesdays and Thursdays for Gimbal Labs live coding, aimed at all the participants in the Plutus PBL course. Generally, it's used for either discussing particular aspects of the course or troubleshooting, as is what we're going to do right now, because I've just tried updating my local node to version 8 and it's fallen over. So we're going to see if we can work out how to get it to run. So I'm going to share my screen, or I'm going to share my Linux terminal screen, and
yeah, I'm stoked to jump into this. There is a big problem with the node, the Cardano node that we discovered, and just vamping for you, Dan, while you get everything set up. And the node wasn't updating, and Dan, I don't know if you were having the same problem, but it wasn't like transactions would go through and I could verify that they were working and stuff was, but my node wasn't showing up, or my Cardano CLI wouldn't look at it. Maybe it was an issue with the Cardano CLI, but James had the same problem and he just reinstalled and it worked. I was trying to get the time to reinstall. Maybe I can get that done today. Dan, from what I understand you're talking about earlier, is that you did this reinstall, but it's not. It seems like it got gummed up in the works somewhere, and it's not been started up again.
I've upgraded as opposed to removing it and reinstalling it.
Oh.
So I had 1.356, which had been running successfully. Wasn't getting a problem that you guys were having, because I think the problem with the delay happened at 1.357 and in the first release of 8. Is that right, James? Did you see that?
That's right. I saw this, the problem Newman was describing even before 8.0 was released. It started popping up.
Okay, so at 8 they seem to have fixed it, you think?
So well, another thing I'm not sure about, we were talking about using the pre-compiled binaries, right, to just quickly upgrade. And after a long time of building from source, I started using the pre-compiled binaries a few versions of Node ago. And I wonder if that has anything to do with the problem as well. Because the other thing I did when I finally got everything working smoothly again is I did build version 8 from source.
Okay, I've not built from source.
I have no idea if that's relevant, but it's just another variable to name here.
And from the way I understand it, and again, this sort of like shows like a little pothole in my Linux understanding, the binaries and the building from source is something that I'm not as familiar with as I should be. Maybe I'm assuming that building from source is like, you know, installing components by hand, and that the binaries are bundled packages that you just click and they roll through scripts.
Exactly. So like on Windows, a .exe file could be called a binary, right? It's just a file that you're ready to run, or, you know, imagine an iPhone app. That's just the whole thing like you just described. But in a lot of open source development, you always have the option of building the binary yourself instead of just downloading somebody else's built version.
Yeah, and that is going from one to the other. I can see where, because okay.
It's a huge change. Building from source takes, you know, 10 times more minutes than just downloading it and getting going.
Right.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Yeah, okay. I mean, let me just drag this on. I would do if I could. Those are all the YAML files that appear, and I haven't got a clue which one it might be referring to.
Right. So yeah, the error has YAML problem. I love that error.
Yeah.
We have a YAML problem.
Invalid YAML.
And just for like, just to give everybody like a 15-second definition of YAML, these are configuration files. It's one format of a configuration file that can kind of give you an outline of what an implementation needs to be aware of. And it's a little bit similar to like a cabal.project file. It's a little bit similar to a project .json or a package.json file in a front end project. They're not exactly the same thing, but it's in that category of just different types of config files that can be used in different contexts.
It doesn't name which file it's trying to look at though.
So one thing, can you just give us a cat start node.sh just to make sure there's nothing suspicious in your run Cardano node command? So that looks like we would expect. Nothing complicated beyond what we've already been doing here.
I have updated topology.json, config.json, and I have added Conway genesis.json. If you look towards about a third of the way down the screen, you can see I opened an editor with the file and basically copied the 22 bytes.
You know what I notice is that the path where you have the Conway Genesis file is different from the path at the bottom of the screen to your topology and config files.
Oh, wait a minute. Cardano, config, Cardano.
Which, there's no line numbers.
I know. So call it the 25% mark from the top.
Okay.
If I move my cursor up there, here.
Yeah, right around there. You see where you have edit and nano Conway Genesis.json.
Yeah,
the directory that you're working in is Cardano node configuration Cardano. However,
that's where all.
Go ahead.
That's different from where the config JSON is.
Yes. And maybe some other folks have wondered, right? Okay, wait, I downloaded all these different config files, but I'm only naming 2 of them in my Cardano node command. I'm only naming topology and config.json. But in the config.json file are references to other files that it's going to expect to find in the same directory. And that would include, for example, the Conway Genesis file. So maybe all we have to do is move that file to the Cardano production config directory.
Hang on, let me find that. Cardano production config. Yeah, we can try that. Okay. Let's Right, I'm not going to get you to watch me doing it because I'm using a graphical file. Conway Genesis JSON. There we go, that one. Copy it. And go to
Conway, by the way, that's the upcoming era of Cardano. Okay, so right now we're in the Babbage era, which started at the Vassal hard fork. Okay, in late 2022. Conway is the upcoming era where the protocol will be upgraded to reflect the results of all these SIP 1694 conversations that are happening right now. Okay. And so if you actually look at a Conway Genesis file right now, there's not much in it. But we can imagine that as the Conway era actually starts, there might be some new parameters that need to be added in that file in order to participate in that new era that includes governance. Yeah, nothing, right? It's right.
That's it.
It's a placeholder file for now, but it's a placeholder we need, right? Just because now that's been added, and you can imagine that when we look at that file a year from now, there'll be some relevant information in it.
Right. So I have now put a copy in that path. So let's see.
See if that makes any difference.
Nothing would surprise me with Linux. It's slightly clunky compared to some other graphical interfaces, isn't it? No, it doesn't make any difference.
Same, is that the same exact error? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is I'm not sure. I'm not sure if other config files have changed recently. So I think it's best practice. And I kind of do this as a matter of course every time I upgrade a node. But I think it might be worth now just trying to download all of those files over
all
again.
of the configs.
Yeah,
okay.
Because there might be a few changes there.
All right, I'll do that. I'll stop screen sharing for now. Somebody can talk about something else for a minute, and I'll get those files downloaded.
You could try that in the background and let us know where you end up.
Yeah, has someone else got something they can take over with for a minute while I
I'll throw
concentrate on
the
this?
Miro board on the screen and
Cool.
see if there's anything else we want to look at. This Miro link is in the chat. Hey Rohel, hey Adrian, hey Mix, Claudio, what's up guys? For anybody who's just getting here, this is the link in the Zoom chat to the Miro board that's shared on my screen right now. And like Dan said, it's the 15th of June. So yeah, what other questions do folks have? Anything else that you might want to look at together today?
I've got this issue still with my name is wrong.
Where?
I am in somewhere in 2.3. Yeah, it's something I did some time ago. Like I had the name in base 64 encoding.
Oh yeah, was that the 204, the final project?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Excellent.
I'm not sure if everybody's there yet, so I was waiting a little bit for it to be useful for everybody, but yeah. For me, that's like a roadblock to go further.
I'm really excited when we are ready to troubleshoot project, that mini faucet project in 204. And it's going to connect the dots between a lot of things we've been looking at. I would see no harm in just taking an initial look at this together. But before we jump in straight into that, what else? Anybody working on some other 100 or 200 level modules? Hit any roadblocks?
I went into the 201 with all the React conditional rendering components and hooks, checking for the token. That was interesting. I didn't come up with any kind of roadblocks, but that's sort of where I'm at. And then I guess my next one, which I haven't really looked at yet, is 201 201.4 queries. That's next on my agenda to dig into when I'm solo. But I haven't run into any real problems other than wait a minute, I do have well, it's back to the whole Nix shell stuff. I got errors like this. I'll post this in the chat, or I'll post this on the mirror board.
I also had a problem recently. Not sure if this is linked to a module, but I was trying to get transactions through Mesh.js to multiple addresses, and they were working until I separated the files, and now they have just stopped working, and they're giving me some UTXO issue. And I'm not sure if I should be looking for a way to manually set the UTXOs or trying to get this to work as it was working before without me having to go through that trouble. So that is something that I would want to discuss. Anyone over here is willing to have a look at that? I really appreciate that.
And Rohel, I remember when you threw this in the Gimbal Apps Discord. Am I representing it right? I mean, you're building a multi-output transaction and you're wondering if there might be a need to manually specify the input UTXOs?
Yeah, well, actually, kind of, yes. So I have a wallet and I want to distribute the balance inside that wallet among a list of wallets. But occasionally it gives me a UTXO issue and it's kind of unpredictable. So I was looking for a very good workaround for that. And in one of my projects, it is working without me having to specify which UTXOs I want to use as inputs. But in another one, I have been told that I should be specifying it manually. So I'm not really sure what's the best approach regarding this.
This is actually related to module 201, right? You're building transactions in a front end. And if we ever, oh, sorry, say again.
It's in the backend. It's on an app wallet.
Right. Good. Okay. So you're building transactions in a backend. That's excellent, right? That's you're going a good step beyond. But even if we look at that together, there might be some relationship between these two things, because to kind of give a preview of where we might end up, if it does turn out that you need to manually specify the input UTXOs in some way, we would need some kind of query in order to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be, I think, a fine use of time to maybe combine these two things.
Great.
What else? Anybody else working on anything? Stuck on anything?
And what's a mesh again? Just for some context. I'm always yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Anybody want to take that one?
Aha. I know it's one of the tools here. I'll try to answer myself so that I know it's one of the tools. Is it called a framework or is it a package? Yeah.
Yeah, more of a, it's a package that you can install with NPM. You can call it an SDK, a software development kit.
Okay.
Okay. And it's written in TypeScript, which is just a stricter form of JavaScript. Okay. Basically, if you're writing in TypeScript, you have all the logic, all the capabilities of JavaScript with some additional type safety. Okay, which is nice for doing things like building transactions where you want to make sure things are working precisely. And so Mesh is the JavaScript software development kit for Cardano. Lucid is actually also a JavaScript-based SDK for Cardano. So, and they are different, but you can look at both and you'll see some similarities. The main thing Mesh allows us to do is build actual user interfaces for interacting with Cardano. In particular, building transactions that people can, sign with a browser wallet from a website.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking. Okay, I can see now where they overlap. So it's like React and a front end UI kit SDK, but it has built-in, baked-in Cardano blockchain functionality. Is that right?
Exactly.
Oh my! I'm wicked smart. I'm wicked smart. All right. Okay. Cool. And Lucid is another version. Is one we just happen to be using Mesh, but Lucid is another one, and I imagine there's maybe even more. Okay.
Yeah, there probably will be more that roll out, and you might even imagine that in the future there will be just many smaller specialized packages that you can install with NPM that have really specific Cardano use cases.
Cool. Oh, and at the top of the, I'll be right back.
Cool. Well, we could do a quick vote on these two things, if that's okay. We can either look at module 204 or we could look with Mesh on the front end. Before I start a vote, anybody want to add one more thing to this list, or are we good?
Would today be a good day to talk about minting?
To talk about?
Like, I was trying to wrap my head around how big projects mint, especially the mannered order. Like when they minted, they kind of like minted their invitation letters to the people they wanted to then send their NFTs to. And it was kind of a new thing when they did it. And I think since then, other projects have also followed suit and done similar stuff. But, I have been trying to learn how to do stuff like that. And I'm not sure what is a good place to, start that conversation. And I think maybe I can over here.
Definitely. That's a big picture topic, but it's absolutely something that we could, if people wanted to, start looking at together. It's not something that we would get all the way through in 1 hour, but yeah, we can definitely start to look at the architecture.
That's all that I can ask for, honestly. Even if it takes like 1 year to do it.
I'm curious. I haven't had a chance to look into that, so I would be curious just to see what was innovative about what they did. And in general, we're at this moment right now where for a long time there have been really hacky solutions to minting unique NFTs on Cardano. A lot of things relied on some off-chain code or back end to orchestrate a drop, but the use of Plutus scripts is changing that. And it's, there's more that we can do directly by using on-chain tools to ensure uniqueness. And actually yesterday, Rohel, you can check out the recording from yesterday's live coding session we talked a little bit about using a Plutus contract to give people who own one token the ability to mint another one. All right, let's do a quick vote with these options. If you're on Miro, you can vote directly here. But if you're not, feel free just to drop a number, 1, 2, or 3 in the Zoom chat. Everybody gets one vote. We'll take just one quick minute and you'll be able to choose one of these boxes, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Here we go.
How do I vote again?
If you're on the Miro board, you'll be able to join the voting and click one of these plus buttons.
Plus buttons. Yeah, I've joined the voting. Plus button.
Yeah.
All right,
When I mouse over these boxes here, I can click on one. I'm not going to vote.
I can click on one box and then I can say I'm done.
Yeah.
All right. I click on the box.
And if for anybody Miro's not working or you're just not there, but you do want to vote 1, 2, or 3, just drop a number 1, 2, 3 in the Zoom chat. All right, and let's see. We got to vote for 1 in the Zoom. Looks like 1's got a total of 3 votes. 2's got a total of 3 votes. That's fun. And 3 has maybe 1.5. Cool. I'm going to make breakout rooms for all of these. And I know there's only a few of us here. But this is good. So we'll have a module 204 space. We'll have a minting NFTs space. And I'm going to keep, yeah, Dan.
Sorry, just before we start the breakout rooms, I've upgraded or updated all of the config files, no difference.
Same exact error. The next thing I would try is just deleting the database and seeing if it works starting from scratch.
Okay.
Which again, that would be unsatisfying if that worked, because now the question would be why.
That's true.
Yeah, if I was working alone, that's the next thing I would do.
Okay. All right, I'll do that, but not whilst this is going on. So I'll concentrate on what's happening here.
I'm really excited to look at module 204 together, but because some of the stuff in 201 is a prerequisite to this, I'm thinking that we can keep breakout room number 2 as the live room here for today. And soon we're going to get together into 204. And it's going to really make sense to start talking about that, even if people aren't quite there yet, because there's some really important concepts that are going to emerge. And so just to give a brief preview of that, just to put it in your mind, the faucet project that you'll see in module 204 has everybody registering an instance of a simple decentralized application with an aggregator. Okay, you're going to compile your own instance of a parameterized smart contract, and then once you have that working, you're going to create a transaction with some metadata that serves as a registry, which allows many instances to appear in one place. This is a really big concept, but the inevitable thing that's going to happen, and I would actually be disappointed if nobody did anything wrong, because we would miss out on an opportunity. So it's really good if people do make mistakes doing this, because what that's going to allow us to do is investigate some really important concepts around how self-sovereign identity works. What's the connection, you might be wondering? The connection is this. Any identity solution relies on adding verifiable information to a blockchain ledger or something like a blockchain ledger. But what's the problem with blockchain ledgers? Well, they're immutable, right? So if I put some information on chain, right, a credential about Dan, for example, right? Now that credential is there forever. Well, how do I remove it? When we talk about decentralized or self-sovereign identity, we have to introduce this concept of like a revocation list, a list of credentials that are no longer valid. And the same thing is going to be true about aggregation of apps that have many different contracts with many different owners. So what we're going to eventually do together is we're going to create what is similar to a revocation list for all of these submissions for Project 204 that are wrong. Okay. And that's what that's going to do is it's going to show us a pattern that we can then reapply as we start thinking more about identity solutions. So that's where we're going. I just want everybody to know that there's an expectation built into the course that there will be some wrong solutions. Then we could talk about, troubleshooting those solutions and improving upon them. But at a certain point, we're also going to have the opportunity to see what a revocation list might look like to keep our DApp running smoothly. We're going there. But I think for today, staying focused here first and looking at some transaction building and a little bit about queries is a really good building block for eventually getting to 204. Any questions about what I just shared there? All right. Rohel, would you be willing to share your screen and take us through the transaction you've been trying to build?
Sure thing, James. Just a moment.
Sure. Take your time. I'm going to unshare here. And I heard you say that it's sounds like it's working sometimes. So we might see something that works and we might be even more confused. Hey, what's wrong with that? But
Yeah.
let's take a risk. Let's see what you've got. Let's see how much it works and see what we can learn from it.
Mm-hmm. Share my screen. Give me 1 sec. I would have to quit this and reopen this because it's the first time I'm doing this. So just have to change permissions.
We'll be here. I think it's worth it.
All right. See you.
Thanks. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Mix. Hey, Sebastian.
Hey, James. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good. How's everything going?
Hey, guys. Great. Well, I'm waiting. I will wait for around the end of the session, so I will drop my bomb and then leave.
You got a bomb to drop and then you're gonna leave us?
Well, you know me. I used to do that. Why not today?
Mix, it's
Yes.
Dan. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Have you ever come across a YAML error when trying to run a node?
YAML error? No, I saw YAML error, but not with Node. But why YAML? I mean, what's the relationship? I don't know. Have they used that? This the
I'm
first.
trying to. Sorry, James, can I take over just for 2 seconds and just share my screen
yeah,
again so
of
that
course,
Mix
of
can see
course.
the error?
Definitely.
Well, a quick question, a quick answer for you, Faizan. Don't do it. Don't try to run Plutus Playground locally. Because, I mean, first of all, it's kind of broken and they didn't update it that much, especially with new hard fork and so on, because Haskell off-chain code is kind of becoming deprecated and outdated and so on. So the team behind these things are not focusing on that because they are seeing the community are moving forward or toward web-based language off-chain code such as TypeScript, JavaScript, and with all these libraries. So although you can do it, but you might face a lot of error and you have to go like old tags of Plutus apps in order to run that. And if you do that, you are you cannot use new features, like for example, Plutus version 2 of something and so on. So I'm just giving you advice. Think twice for doing that. So
Yeah,
go ahead,
is
Dan.
Playground is officially unsupported, right?
I don't know exactly this, like, did they broadcast that or not? But I've talked with the people, even in certification working group, that we talked that should we add some kind of certification practice or security practice in Playground, and from IOG's people like Simon, Roman, these are the official members of IOG, and they said Playground is not. I mean, their concept, the IOG is going to deprecate it soon, but so I don't want to work on that. So I don't know, did they publicly announce that or not, but I've heard that from the official members. So
Can you see my screen, Mix?
Yeah, I do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, see, look at the bottom lines. It says
YAML parse
invalid.
exception at line 106, column 1.
It doesn't say which YAML file though. That's the thing, and there's about 18 of them associated with Cardano node.
Okay, give me. Would you
not something you've ever come across?
Yeah, no, I haven't. But would you please copy this error and paste it in chat so I can look up at some places that I think people might face this issue. So maybe we can find some solution.
Because what I did, I upgraded from 1.356 to 8 by copying the binaries down, and I've also updated all the Genesis files, so all the config files, config JSON, and all the.
What about the other binaries? Like Cardano CLI, all the binaries. Have you update all the binaries?
The node and CLI.
No,
they both run.
I recommend to update all the binaries.
So
I think you can find it, but maybe that's not the issue. Maybe that's not the solution or something. But please paste this error so I can look it up.
Yeah,
maybe we can find. Like, if you remember several weeks ago, we faced the issue with the Node version 8, and we found that it is like a bug within the node. So that wasn't your problem. It was a bug, and they fixed it. So maybe this is
Okay.
the same thing as well.
Yeah. Okay. Let me write in the chat very quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you. I will back to
No
you
problem.
if I find something.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great if you could. Otherwise,
Sure.
I'll follow James's advice and wipe it and start again. Okay.
And if it doesn't work, then you have to go with compilation. Like you need to compile it locally or so. But I hope
Yeah.
you won't go to big. That one is a rabbit hole.
Okay. Thanks for your help.
Right.
Alrighty, I am set to present the screen. All right, I'll go ahead. Do it. All right, so just let me know when you can see my screen.
Looks good.
All right, so here we are. I have, this is a backup of a server where I wrote all of this in one file. It's all kind of mumbled up, but it works. Over here, I am trying to, first of all, fetch all of my pending transactions, which have in them a wallet address and an amount that needs to be paid to that address. I have initially made my app side wallet, so that's ready to just start executing on that list of wallets and start sending them the love list that is required. So I hold on to a transaction from this list of transactions, and then I call this inner work function. Inner work function, which just executes a single transaction. All right, and how it does that is that it follows the typical signing and building signing and hashing technique and submitting it that is typical to Mesh.js. So this over here is working. I added 30-second delays for retrying a single transaction again and again, and I added a 5-minute delay before the next transaction is tried in the code, and it is working. But when I try to put it in more like an MVC format, it stops working. So for example, over here, I have a route for executing the transactions, which goes to the execute transaction controller. The execute transaction controller calls this function, which does the same thing. It's the exact same code, but it's not working when I separate it into different files, and it does when I put it into one file, which I'm not able to wrap my head around. If you want, I can increase the readability of this. So let me put away the console logs that I put for testing. And please let me know what you think.
Interesting. So it's, yeah, I'm curious why. why would that change things just to separate concerns, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, So, I mean, the error is straightforward, right? It's fetch address UTXOs is returning undefined,
Yeah.
right? And that points to just generally like this is an innovative solution to a problem, but it's really kind of like a brute force solution, just to wait 5 minutes. We don't know, right? So one of the key things that we can start noticing here is, look, the problem of waiting for some prior transaction to go through before doing the next thing, like this is a known problem, right? And tools are going online right now to help with this problem. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Right? So one thing we could do is look at that. And I should mention for Gimbal Labs Carnival, where we're just kind of extending the way we're doing live coding just over the next 3 months, we are going to tackle exactly this topic 2 Tuesdays from now on June 27.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
But for now, can you take us a little deeper into why these transactions need to happen sequentially in the first place? That's something I haven't really understood yet.
All right. So I'm not really that big on these things happen sequentially or asynchronously or however. I just went with the sequential approach because that is what I was able to write code for initially. And I was like, okay, if it is sequential, that works for me. And even if it's not, that's also okay. But what I don't want is for transactions to not go through. So that is what's important to me. To me, it's important that all the transactions that are in that list do end up becoming a part of that blockchain and are submitted successful. Because before making those transactions, I do make sure that I have like 20% more balance than what is required to have these transactions. So any sort of network fees should not get in the way or those things out of the way. I just want these transactions to always take place through this code in whatever order.
And can you zoom out a little bit more, like what
Sure.
specifically is the use case here that we're building for?
Sure. So I have a transaction object that simply has 3 things in it. It has an ID that MongoDB generates itself. Other than that, it has an amount that I want to send to a wallet and a wallet address next to it. All right. These are the 3 things that a transaction object in my local database holds. I have a list of these transactions and I fetch that list inside these pending transactions. And I have made sure that the transaction model, let me show it to you, is taking them as strings, which is what Mesh.js requires them to be, right? So even these numbers, the amount, for example, is a string. And I'm making sure that whatever I'm returning over here is converted to a string before it becomes a part of this variable. That being taken care of, from that list, I hold on to a transaction and I execute it. The reason I have put this promise after it is because initially when I was doing this, if I had 10 transactions pending, sometimes it would execute 4 of those 10, sometimes it would execute 2, sometimes 6, something like that. So I increased it to 1 minute, and that kind of increased the frequency of 6 transactions being approved out of 10. But then again, it was very unpredictable that the 7th will not go through, or maybe the last one will not go through. So I just put a safe delay of 5 minutes. And since then, I was having no problem in the code that is all mumbled up, the one that I showed you earlier on. What happens in the single execute transaction function is it calls a recursive function. So this execute transaction function parses the transaction, gets the wallet address and the amount. That's what's relevant. And then uses, this is where Mesh.js comes in, typical documentation. Just how the documentation says, I'm trying to send love list to this wallet address, this amount. And this is the point where I start getting the error for the UTXOs. So it does not build, and I never get to this stage in my process.
And the reason it doesn't build is because that fetch UTXO as that address function is not returning anything, right? Because this address that's being used to temporarily hold value throughout this process, when you hit it at the wrong time, there's nothing there.
Walk me through this a little bit, because I don't think I understand this as well as I would like to. My understanding is that whenever you receive ADA, for example, you receive it in the form of a UTXO.
Right.
And when you spend that ADA, let's say in my whole life, I have only received ADA twice. And hence, if I have not spent that anywhere, I should have about 2 unspent UTXs in my wallet, right?
Right.
Let's say one time I received 10 ADA and another time I received 5 ADA.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to make a purchase, or if I want to send someone 12 ADA now, I would have to combine those 2 UTXOs into one, and then my change would go to one of my own addresses after the network fees have been subtracted from that. So this is my understanding of how UTXOs work. Where this problem is coming from is still not totally clear to me.
All right. So you can spend a UTXO in a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And even before that transaction is submitted on chain, you have the transaction hash of this successfully built transaction. So you know what the UTXO hash of the next UTXO you're going to spend is going to be, right? However, if that transaction hasn't yet been confirmed on chain,
Right.
you're going to be trying to spend a UTXO that's already accounted for. And so this is referred to as shorthand. This is like the double spending problem that maybe you heard about, right? We can only spend a given UTXO once. And if the prior transaction doesn't clear, we're always going to run into this problem.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I thought this 5-minute delay initially helped me avoid that problem in a very brute force way, but it still did help me, and I stopped getting those errors. But all of that happens at this stage, if I'm not wrong, the part where we submit that transaction. Right, so the blockchain network says, no, we don't accept this because our record does not show you having this set of UTXOs, because the previous UTXO that you think you have spent is not actually spent yet. So you need to wait for that to become a part of the consensus, I would say, the blockchain, and then you can go on with the next one. So yeah, I do understand that. All right, that does totally make sense. But why would I get stuck for the first transaction in the building part of it? Like, this is the first transaction that I'm doing in a long time.
You know, waiting 5 minutes is going to work sometimes.
It has been working.
Right, but there's no guarantee.
No guarantee. exactly.
Right. And that's the critical bit. Dan, what do you think?
I just wanted to clarify something Rohel said. You were talking about having a UTXO with 10 ADA and one with 5 ADA, and you were combining them so that you could then use them in a transaction to send 12 ADA. Is
Or
that
something.
right?
Yeah, something like that. So I was
Because
thinking that
you can send the two UTXOs in the transaction and get the change back. You don't need to combine them before you send them.
right. Yeah. I get that. This is how it works.
Okay.
You don't actually combine them, right? You just spend both of them and get the change back.
Sorry, yeah, I misunderstood your description. I was trying to think, why would you be combining them and then
No,
sending
I
them?
misspoke. I misspoke over there. So my idea was that you would have to spend both of them in order to, make a single output.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
No worries. Sorry, my bad.
Martin has one solution pathway here as well. What do you say?
Yeah, I put it up in the chat. I see like UTXOs as your processors. And the Game Changer wallet does also some stuff with that. That you see your wallet has a lot of UTXOs. In the beginning, I was like, oh, it's such a mess. I need to clean it up. I need one UTXO. Don't do it. It creates so much issues because you basically make your wallet a single processor 286
Right.
AT computer. Because if you have, I mean, you need some ADA to split up. If you don't have it, that's a problem. But if you have some ADA, it is better to have like 100 UTXO, like of 100, because you can then do everything with it. It's like a wallet with 100 bills, and you can do 100 transactions at the same time with 100 cash registers. And the cash registers take some time to process this money and give you back. If you have only one bill of 1,000, you have to do every cash register in sequence.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. So if I understand this right, what you're saying is that if we take the time to kind of account for what we have in the UTXOs, we can really optimize our spending procedure.
Yeah, you have to keep track of your UTXOs, which transaction has used which UTXO. And then if you do a new transaction, pick another UTXO.
Right. Yeah,
Then you can do as much in parallel as you want. Really.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so just one more time, why do these transactions need to happen sequentially?
They actually do not have to happen sequentially. They can happen exactly how Martin suggested right now. That I can actually, if I take the time to, figure out how I can do it, I can optimize this and make this work in better way.
So I have a suggestion. You see line 111? You can add you can chain together as many .send Lovelaces as you want into one transaction.
Oh, so you're saying something like initiator remains the same, and then over here I just
build a single
append.
transaction. .send Lovelace. Yep, no comma, just a dot, right? .send Lovelace.
Like this.
Yep.
All right. So, and the next amount and the next amount.
The next wallet address with the next amount, the next wallet, right? All together. And what this is going to do is create many outputs from a single transaction, and you can do it all at once.
All right. So I understand what you mean. You mean something like this, right? So I put it something like this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Just without the extra, right? Obviously, without the extra dot send Lovelace on the end of each line. But yeah.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah,
but that's,
exactly.
that's it right there. You map over the array of database entries you've got. And you add a send Lovelace to this TX object for each address with each associated amount.
So if I have an idea of exactly how many transactions I'm going to be sending and exactly how much amount I will be sending, I can do this, and I actually do calculate the exact amount that I'm going to be sending to any one of these addresses. However, what I do not know at runtime is the total number of addresses. Always, they keep on changing dynamically. So how can I make this approach work in that scenario? Because I would not be able to, write the right amount of lines over here.
Yeah, okay. Right, so at any given time, there's a bunch of addresses to send Lovelace to, but you don't know until runtime how many addresses there are. Yeah. So what you can do is you can initiate the TX on line 110. And then you can map over the current list of addresses. And instead of chaining these together, right? Like what we're doing here is just chaining it into one thing. But you could just have each of these lines can uniquely say TX dot send Lovelace, right? Or within your map iterator, right? You can, or maybe it will be a for each actually. I
was thinking, yeah. So if I do this, and then if I do this inside a for loop, after the TX has been made,
right,
once,
right,
even if I cancel this part out, then I write a for loop over here,
right,
and for each transaction, for const transaction, and let's say random transaction, what do I have over here? Yeah. So actually, this is for a single function, right? So let's assume I'm writing this code for all the transactions. What you're saying is that over here, I can just replace this with.
No, that part.
No, sorry. Yeah, for this part,
That's the only thing. In this case, the only thing you're iterating over is this bit, and you just need to include TX dot at the beginning. Yeah. And then, right, you'll use your transaction iterator to pull the correct address and amount for that send Lovelace.
All right.
And you could, in this case, you'd be able to remove line 112.
Oh yeah. Okay, so it actually gets initiated as soon as I do this.
Yep. We're gonna build a transaction. Full stop. What are we going to add to that transaction? An arbitrary number of output.
That makes a lot of sense. So when I build it, all of those things get built together as one.
Exactly. Finally, after we add all of those outputs, then we say, okay, now build the transaction.
All right. So, and one more thing. So once we have it all built, let's say I was going to send this to 100 people. And I built I just, initiated added it to the TX object, all of those things. And then I built it as one part. Then it's all or nothing when I submit it, right? So it's going to either go to those 100 people all at once, or it's not going to go to any of them.
That's right.
All right.
And
So
I still haven't been able to hit the limit. I've tried to build transactions with 100 outputs, and so far so good. Let's try to figure out where the limit is, because once you hit that limit, okay, now you got to split that up into multiple transactions, and some of the problems that you've pointed out here are going to re-emerge, right? I don't think this would work for 1 million outputs, for example. Right. But up to the transaction size limit, you're good.
Yeah. So over here, what I can actually do is I can simply say TX is equal to cost, TX is equal to new transaction, right?
Well, so pause for a second. You wouldn't want that to be inside the loop. Because you
Yeah, I need to build the
want-
transaction outside. Yeah.
Exactly. We only want one TX. We're building a single TX, and then we're going to iterate over only the adding outputs to it part.
Right. Got the syntax for this. This right here is what I need.
Hmm. And for anybody who might be new to JavaScript, the way you see things where we're just chaining all those dot statements together is a convenient shortcut for just doing a bunch of things sequentially on the same object. But what you could see Rohail doing on line 112 is kind of the what would precede the shortcut that we're describing, right? You have a TX object and you're running this function on it, send Lovelace.
What did I have? I had it as balance or Lovelace. All right, so I had this as amount. All right. It was amount. So, yeah. Alrighty. So this should help me do all of this together, and then I just const unsigned tx is equal to tx dot build, right? And then const signed tx is going to be when my developer wallet signs the unsigned transaction, and then I would want to get the transaction hash when I submit it using my wallet. Signed transaction. And all of these are actually await functions.
Exactly. And I think on line 116, it's sign TX, not sign data.
Yeah. Sign TX, right? Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this should actually make it so much smoother. Yeah. So
That's a good concept. Good.
that is amazing. That just made my life way easier. I hope this works. I'm going to give this a shot right now.
Oh, yeah, are we able to test it right now?
Yeah. I'm going to test this right now. So all right. In here, let me get the transactions again. Let's see. How can I like minimize this? The cameras. This.
Not sure.
Okay. Oh, I got it. I got it.
Are we
Yeah,
building
yeah.
on mainnet right now, or are you on pre-prod?
This is mainnet, but these wallets are just for testing, so don't have to stress it so much. So I have these transactions. All of them are pending. All right, they're already made, about 6 of them. And when I execute these, okay, I need to like have a record. Okay, I'll just check my wallet for the record of these transactions.
And is that new file saved?
Yeah, this file is saved.
I see a white dot.
You see it? Okay, sorry, my bad. Okay, so you guys cannot see these props that I see from Zoom hanging out on my screen.
Right. Yeah, well, I
Alright.
can only see your VS Code right now, but we could see
Alright.
Postman a second ago.
All right, I see. So yeah, well, I send the transaction. Now I start executing the transactions. I hope no other files are unsaved. System is nope, all of them are saved. Server.js is not important. So execute the transactions and look at the console. So the console says fetch the transactions. Where is the held on console log? Why is it execute function call successfully, check the console with the pending transactions, execute pending transactions, then gets the pending transactions, and for each transaction it just makes it a part of the DX object and builds the DX object. Where is this console log coming from? Let's see. It's not here. Maybe it's inside of here. Nope. Not
Does
here.
that say ith or one?
It's actually ith.
Okay.
Quite sure of that. Also try one. No, it's not
Okay.
anywhere over here.
Inner work is not defined and
How can I
value.
hide this? I want to hide this thing in my screen. It's like really in the way. This thing about 6 participants in chat and these buttons. All right. Yeah. Okay, so it's not here. It's not here, and it's not here. This is the process. I go to my routes, serve the execute transactions controller, and calls that function. And that function, it does not call any other function anymore. So, okay, I'll just, maybe this was not saved. Let me redo it. So, not from that. Then I execute the transactions. Yeah, that console log. I don't know. Maybe it was something. I don't know where it's
Now
coming
we're
from.
back to the error we started with.
Yeah, we are back to the
Fetch address UTXOs. So yeah, that's the next thing we would want to do is go look at that, because this, I know this is better what we have here.
Yeah,
and if we will be
definitely.
able to get it to work, but we got to look at fetch address UTXOs. And just as a public service announcement, I think it's my duty to say that it makes me feel very uncomfortable. We're doing this on mainnet. I would feel a lot better if we were on pre-prod right now, but I get it if you really want to be playing that way. But for anybody else watching this later, don't do that.
Don't try this at home.
No, please use pre-prod when you're doing things for the first time, or preview.
Yeah.
Should we try to take a quick look at fetch address UTXOs and see what's going on there?
All right, so this is coming from, where is this exactly coming from? Fetch address UTXOs. You want me to make a quick little search on that, or do you want to explore the source code?
Yeah, can you just do a quick search? Is that a function you wrote, or is that, are we using a provider for that?
No. This fetch address UTXOs, I think this is coming from mesh in the build process. So maybe somewhere along in the build code, it uses it. Jingles told me that the solution to this would probably involve setting the UTXOs manually, like over here, using the blockchain provider to get the UTXOs and then mapping over the UTXOs and then choosing the ones that I want to spend and then making them part of the transaction. But okay, let's just make a Google search for it, quick and simple. Just give me a sec. This thing and up a little bit. Alrighty. All right. Transaction submit error. Cardano build.
I think if you go to the mesh website and you look at, I believe this is a providers function. So if you go to utilities.
Yeah, providers.
Do you know which one of these you're using?
I'm using block first.
Okay. And yeah, we have fetch address UTXOs down here. So right, somewhere you're calling this function to get the UTXOs at this address. Can you maybe find, like, can you search your project for?
Yeah, Control Shift F, fetch UTXOs, right? Okay.
Fetch address UTXOs.
Fetch address. Nope. I am such a noob at this. I am sure if I was using something like this, I would be bragging about it, but I'm not actually using it. I'm 100% sure about that. Like explicitly in my code. I think this is being called somewhere from some package that I'm using in some library.
This is, well, no, I mean, my read on this error is that when fetch address UTXOs is called, it's getting an empty list, right? That's what we'd expect. So we just want to try to figure out maybe if wallet address, no, not wallet address, dev wallet. Right. What's the address of this dev wallet that you're using, and does it indeed have some spendable UTXOs in it?
Yeah, so this address, I am sure because I've used it so much, this is the exact address. I'm logging it in the first instance. As soon as I create my dev wallet, I log this, all right? So this is the right address. And then I am exporting the dev wallet instance and importing it over here from that wallet creation file. All right, so this is the wallet. It has about 51 ADA in it. So should work.
Okay. Is there enough ADA in that wallet to satisfy the sum of the?
Yeah, because actually those transactions are calculated as percentages of the wallet balance.
Okay.
So if I can show you over here, for example, these transactions, like they're very small, 10 ADA for this one,
okay,
5, then 2 something, then it goes to 7 for each of the remaining ones, about 7.6. So let's call this 23 approximately, plus 225 plus 10, 35 plus 5, 40-ish ADA approximately.
okay.
That's being sent in total. So not accounting for the network fees, I should still have about 10 ADA left in the wallet
Right.
after all of the transactions are through.
Right.
All right.
Can you go back to where you're initializing the transaction? Oh, right here. So the initiator, is dev wallet. That's good. Yeah, I would have to dive a little bit more into this code to search for where the problem is coming from. But what I would start with is making sure, like, I could see what you're saying. Yes, there's an address in your console, and it's the address you expect. That's good.
You can do one more thing.
I would troubleshoot. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, let's do that.
Then dev wallet, the get payment address over here as well, to make sure we are dealing with the same instance.
Right.
All right, so let's do that. I don't know if maybe this is an await thing. If it is, let's just do this. All right, let's do this. Let's go to Postman. Let's spin our server again. Get the transactions, and this time when we execute the transactions, we should see the wallet address at least twice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see it initially when the server was first spun, and then we see the same address over here. So this is the same dev wallet. That's out of the way. What else could be causing this? So when we loop through this, are all the transactions becoming a part of this? I'm kind of sure this is working fine. Should I console log this as well?
Yeah.
All right, so let's do something like this.
Just log transaction. Oh yeah, if you want an iterator. Yeah.
I'll just do this. All right. So let's see what happens. I should be using NodeMon, honestly. Okay, so yeah, the same transactions are returned. Let's execute them. Yeah, we have about 6 transactions starting from 1.
Mhm.
All the transactions were made a part of the TX object. Then we came here. Let's just do A, B, C. All right, I don't think B is going to get logged to the console. I'm pretty sure this is where it's coming from.
All right.
Do you want to test it out as well? Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. What do we have to do? So yeah, A was logged. B,
Right.
we never got to B.
Right. Because
Right.
it's trying to, so it's building a transaction. And the step where it needs to fetch address UTXOs is when it looks at the dev wallet and it says, hey, what UTXOs are here? So and yeah, we're getting an address. That's great. But for some reason, fetch address UTXOs, yeah, it's not returning anything, right? So that's you need to troubleshoot. And this doesn't have anything to do with the outputs, right? It doesn't matter what's at the addresses we're sending to. What's relevant here is the dev wallet, and that's where you got to dive a little deep and troubleshoot that. Martin, what do you think?
Is it like the TX is really just what you can do with the CLI is just building a transaction? It's very similar, right?
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
print the whole TX as what it would be like if you were doing a CLI?
Great question. One of the goals I've heard, yeah, let's look at it here and just see what we get.
right.
And one of the goals the mesh team has is to give us even more of an explicit bridge between what we know about Cardano CLI and how you can build in mesh. They've abstracted a few things, right? They're saving us work, but sometimes that can feel a little bit opaque when people want to get really hands-on. Okay. Yeah.
This is what it looks like. Let me. All right, so this is where it starts as an undefined change address.
We do want to have a change address, so that's going to be important.
It's just like, yeah, the total Lovelace is about 40, like we want it to be. About 40 ADA. Fetcher undefined, submitter undefined.
It's interesting that the recipient, maybe the recipients doesn't matter because that's included in the outputs, but I'm curious why the change address is not defined. I'm curious about why there's 0 recipients. That might be nothing, but it might be worth it to look at that.
So if there's like one transaction output, you would expect at least one recipient to still be there.
Yeah, can you let's add one more log.
Yeah.
Inside the for loop, can you just log Oh, down below.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you log those wallet addresses?
Yeah, sure. Transaction.
Yeah.
All right.
And inside that console.log, you can also just write a little string there at the front. So
Yeah,
someone's-
sure thing.
Yeah.
So
Just a simple
wallet,
string. Yeah, exactly.
is
Yeah.
something like this.
Yeah, good.
All right.
All right, let's see.
So let's do it.
Oh, I see Dan's got a solution. All right. Downloading the files, downloading the config files. Interesting.
Did we look into that?
All right. So what do you see? Did you run it again? Sorry. I got distracted by the chat.
No. So yeah, over here this is the.
Oh yeah, there they are.
Whoa.
Okay. Look at that. So yeah, the addresses are there.
Yeah. This
That's
is my NAMI
encouraging.
wallet.
Yeah,
This
so
is my
this is
Xero.
not the problem, right? So this shows us, okay, good. We're building the tx.send Lovelaces, and this is what I would have expected. The for loop and the outputs is not the problem. The problem is somehow we're not getting the inputs from the dev wallet, right? Where that fetch address, and you can dive into the mesh code base maybe to try to find that. Unfortunately, I have to leave now. So otherwise I would be really interested in keeping on going to figure this out. But yeah, working alone, the next thing I would do is search the mesh repo for where fetch address UTXOs is called.
Yeah.
There's a function you're using where somehow that's not working out.
Right. So they have a GitHub repo, right?
Yep. Yeah, you got it right there.
All right. So, oh yeah, I got it right there. So, okay, I'll look into this and I'll see what. Yeah, these kind of problems have always bugged me a little bit, where you have like a piece of code that works in one place, same thing doesn't work in the other place. And assuming that both of these are using mesh.js, I'm fine with it not working. What I'm not fine with is it working in one place and not in the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just keeps me thinking what could be causing this.
100%. Martin, what do you think?
Yeah, maybe you can do the fetch UTXO just on its own.
Fetch UTXO like explicitly through block first.
Yeah, just you can do and see what will be the result. Maybe you get weird text back. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a complex thing you're building, right? So we want to build up building block by building block to this solution. And yeah, just to your point about it's frustrating that things work sometimes and not others. That's exactly why we try to avoid brute force solutions, right? So just that's the first thing you learn in development is, okay, yes, there are brute force ways to do things. And one of the reasons that we try to use systems is that brute force leads us to unexpected places and kind of unreliability. So big thing today. Now, I'm glad you get this idea that you can have many outputs on one transaction.
Yeah.
That's definitely gonna change the approach here. But I noticed that we changed that part really quickly without a full review of all the other dependencies, right? So there's something else in your chain that it's probably going to end up being a really easy tweak when you find it, but it's a matter of taking the time to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep digging at this, and I will try to do both things, the explicit approach, this documentation, and I hope I'm able to resolve this by the next time we meet. If we don't, I will keep you guys updated on this.
Keep
Alrighty.
us posted. That's exciting.
Sure
Yeah,
thing. Thank you,
Royal, thanks for
James.
driving this one today.
And thank you, Martin, and thank you, James. Thanks for having me. And thank you for answering all these questions. And this thing, I just want to say it once again. I was planning to make a whole microservice because of this 5-minute thing. I was thinking, okay, this thing is going to take a lot of time. I'm expecting about 100-ish transactions that are going to take place every time this function is called. I was thinking maybe I should make a different microservice for this. And doing this, what we just did today, has solved a lot of the problems that I was probably going to have later on in the production environment. So thank you so much for having me, guys. And when is the next opportunity to collaborate and do this kind of thing?
Every Wednesday and Thursday, 14:30 UTC.
And
Same-
now
same.
Tuesday as well, right? Because of open spaces.
Tuesday is it's Gimbal Labs Carnival. And so you can check out gimballabs.com/carnival 2023, or just go to the Gimbal Labs homepage and click on the Carnival button. And you'll see
Alright.
how that works. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Rock and roll. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.